Welcome. Ignite Your Spark podcast, season 1, episode 1. I'm your co-host, I guess it would be called, Lisa, and my co-host is...
I'm Bex, and we thought this episode would feel right if we start to talk about why another self-development podcast.
Yeah, why we're putting ourselves out there, turning up, meeting together to chat self-development. And at its core, it is simply because we both are obsessed. And whenever we get together, we just can't stop chatting. And for me, it all started because I hadn't necessarily felt that prior to our friendship. It was very much a case that it was something I was interested in, but I couldn't really delve that deep into self-development because I didn't really have people to talk to. I just wasn't in that space yet. And then Bex and I had a call a couple of months ago, and we were just vibing off of each other, and the energy just builds and builds and builds every time we chat. And I came off of the call, and I was like, we've got to do a podcast. We've got to share this.
Yeah. And I'll never forget that day. I was I think I was going to get my nails done, and you sent me a voice note, and you was like, I'm just going to put it out there. I'm just going to ask you. And you asked me about working with you on a podcast, and I was like, oh my God, yes. Did I feel scared and nervous? Absolutely. But I was like, it felt so right and so aligned. And I just think every time, like you said, I've chatted with you and worked with you, it's like we've just connected on such a different level. Mm-hmm. And I was like, let's do it.
Exactly. And that's why I had to send the voice note. I had to hold myself accountable from the offset, because there's so many things where I am an action taker and where I do go ahead and full steam ahead, but there are so many things where these great ideas come to me, and then I'm like, oh no, that's not me, I'm not that person, and then I just shut it down. So I was like, I immediately just sent you the voice note and could hear straight away that you were on the same wavelength, and now we're going for it. Let's just chat through.
Let's go.
Yes. So like Beck said, it makes sense, we're at the start, so let's talk about our journey so you can get to know us a bit more, and also I think for each other, we've definitely dipped a little bit into it.
Let's start even how you and I met, because
that's true.
Because obviously so I was actually searching online for a VA to help me with a few technical things, because I am an absolute technophobe. And I literally came across Lisa. Lisa was the first profile that came up on my Instagram, and I was like, oh my goodness. I looked at her stories, I looked at what she can offer, and I was like, she knows what she's doing. I need her, because I'm going to throw my Mac outside of the window because I just couldn't do it. So we started working together, didn't we, on one of my projects that I was delivering in January, I think.
Yeah, January.
And that's how we kind of got together.
Exactly.
Well, got together.
Now we are.
You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Yeah.
But I am, so for context, then I'm a virtual assistant to self-development coaches. So I have the pleasure of working with loads of amazing people in this space, and I do connect on such a level with everyone, because everyone, they all do different things. It's like a running joke with my partner that what's this one do? It's always something that you've never heard of before. There's so many amazing new modalities and different aspects of self-development, and all of them I love working with, and I gain so much with working with them. But with us, it just the chemistry was there, and like I said, it was just that like-minded person that I love, that you have so many experiences that I haven't had, and then same in reverse, and we're just both so keen and interested, and we're let's just find out more. So this is kind of probably a bit selfish as well, that we get to chat about the thing that we love the most. We get to have guests on to talk and ask them questions that maybe we wouldn't get a chance to otherwise. So
I'm so excited for that part.
Yes,
so excited.
Exactly.
We've got so many good things lined up, haven't we, for it?
Yes, exactly. So going into my personal story of self-development. So my journey on self-development, like I say, I would say until I was about 21, I was aware of the space. I just never really dipped my toe in, ever. And then my baby cousin, shout out to Molly, she started doing tarot card readings, and I was not into it. I said I would do it just to support her, just to support my baby cousin. Didn't really know what to expect, very low expectations going into it, and it shook things up for me. It was obviously she's my cousin, so people can say she knows things, but there was aspects of that conversation and that came up in that reading that I hadn't even accepted myself yet, which was, I think that was the mind-blowing bit for me. And I was just like in floods of tears, but in the most like cathartic best way. And I just felt such a sense of relief all of a sudden, because I feel like in life up until that point, you just go, you just do the next thing. And that's, I think, a massive part of why I love self-development, is because you just settle for a minute, just stop and reflect to learn from your past, whether it's mistakes or things that worked well for you. And yeah, that's what that session did for me. And so for the first couple of years, so like I said, I think I was about 21 at that point where I had that first reading with her, and that definitely sparked something. But then I just kind of pondered through life, didn't really go into it that much. And then a couple years later, then I did talking therapy, and that was beneficial in some respect. Again, I was just kind of dipping my toe in different areas and exploring different things, different books, but just never really diving into it. And then it wasn't until so in July of 2022, then the virtual assistant job and role made its way to me. It was very much like, I'll share my story in that another time, but it was very much a, hey, have you heard of doing this? No, I've never heard it before, let's go all in. And then in that, then you decide who you want to work with. And don't get me wrong, I definitely considered other areas, but the second that I was honest with myself, I was like, come on, I can go all in working with self-development coaches and just surround myself with it. Just imagine how beneficial that's going to be for me. So I did exactly that. And from there, it has just catapulted, because I have the pleasure of working with these amazing people. And like, whether it's like, for some people, I would listen to their podcast and I would create content from their podcast. So my job is literally to listen to self-development podcasts in ways that I can improve myself. It's like dream situation. It really is. It really is. And then it's just gone from there. So I'm 1 year in now to that, and I've gone all in. I am an all in action taker kind of person. Like there was a point, I think it was January, I had 3 coaches at the same time. Because I'm the same. Yeah.
Like, literally I'm the same.
I'm all in. And then now at this point, everything just moves so quickly, but now at this point, another 6 months down the line, like every day I'm listening to another podcast which is improving me in some way. I want to get more into reading, which we'll talk about later. And just everything, if there's a webinar, a workshop, a tutorial, anything, I'm on it. And I'm learning so much, and I can truly honestly say, myself, in comparison to myself this time last year, I'm a wildly different person. Wow. And this is why this is a space for like-minded people, because you say this to some people and they look at you like a crazy person.
Yeah, they do.
And you're bless them, they support you and everything, but they're not there, that's not their interest.
They just don't get it.
They just don't get it. And it kind of deflates your energy, because you're talking at someone, and like, I've been in these conversations with friends and I'm so high energy, and then by the end of it I'm like, okay, I just need to save this for another place. And that's where this place is. I can let it all out. I can talk passionately about the fact that I am wildly different to who I was last year, and I'm lighter in myself. I feel so much better, and that just excites me for where I'm going to be in another year. But even in like 3 months' time, I think I just love how quickly everything moves in this space. And so now this is just another element of it.
It's so exciting. Even honestly, listening to your story just like inspires me so much. And I think every time I'm on a call with you, I get off and I'm like, right, let's go. Like, honestly, and it's about surrounding yourself with those type of people, literally.
Exactly. And that's, again, going back to, that's why I wanted to do this, because the more you hear people talk about it, you accept if that's something that you're interested in, and you go ahead and explore it. And like, very much with this podcast, like, it's going to be you and I talking, and we're going to have guests on and all of that, but I want people to reach out to me if there's something that you're intrigued about, that we talk about, a personal experience, or you just want to talk about where you are to like kind of figure out where your journey goes. Reach out to us on our socials. For both of us, we love this so much. I could talk about it all day, every day. And well, now we will be.
We will, and here we are. Like you said, this is a space for it. Like, absolutely.
Exactly. So I know a bit about your story to where we are right now, but share a bit more about your journey.
Yeah, gosh. So, I mean, when I was 25, I remember being 25, and I was in a really good job back in Manchester. I'm northern, if you can't tell by the accent, which is where I lived. And I always remember standing up on top of this hill. I was taking the dog for a walk, and it was literally a place where I just saw the whole of Manchester. And I sat there and I thought, there has to be more to life than this, literally.
I feel like so many people have that turning point.
It was something that just clicked. And at the time, my best friend was working for an airline, and she was cabin crew, and she was travelling the world. And I was like, I need to do this, literally. And that evening, I went home and I applied for the role as cabin crew.
Really?
And as soon as I did it, I was like, oh my God. Anyway, long story short, I got the job. I packed up my life, bearing in mind I was in a relationship at the time of about 8-9 years.
Oh, quite a relationship.
Yeah. And let's just say it wasn't the right path for me. Okay, well, again, we'll go into that probably on another time. So I packed up, I left, and I moved to London to be cabin crew. I thought I was just going to be up there serving tea and coffee, and that was it. But my goodness, did that job, did that role, meeting the people, changed my life. And when I actually moved down, I was living in Windsor at the time. I was renting a room, never been away from home before, so it was all brand new for me. And my landlord, who was one of my very good friends today, he could see what place I was in mentally. I thought I was fine. I thought I was living this amazing life, but there was something. I felt very sad at the same time. I think because I moved from Manchester, I literally left my whole life. And he passed me the book, The Secret. We've all heard of The Secret. That is where most people start.
Yeah.
And, people have got their own opinions and view of The Secret and parts that are missing from it, which, again, we will obviously get into. But that was the first moment for me where I was like, I can start to create a life for me and how I want to choose to live my life. And that book literally got me through a real dark time. Yeah. Now, I'd like to say that was, I read the book and I was fine and off I went. Like, absolutely not. It was just the very, very beginning. But I think the second defining moment for me was, again, when I was I've been down in London for like 3.5 years, and I met another guy, and that was a relationship of like just under 3 years. But that was the most defining moment for me, where I, like you said, you throw yourself into it. Like, it was the most, I can't even explain, like the most moving relationship for the good and the bad. And that was the one thing that made me then really throw myself into the full, like I was all in with self-development. And that was when what I call my healing journey, that is when it literally started.
Exactly. And I feel like for so many people, it can often be triggered by not the best experience, because you are just looking everywhere for, give me direction. Give me something to focus my energy on, because I can't focus it where I used to be focused, or whatever it is. And just, whatever it is that gets you there. And then all of a sudden, it's your passion project. That's what I'm interested in all of a sudden. And then you start following all these accounts on socials, and then it's everywhere. And then you read the books, and then you watch the YouTube, and then you watch like podcasts, and then it just snowballs from there, and it just really grows. And like for you, how long ago was that now? That
was, I mean, when was this? This was probably 5 years ago now.
Exactly. And like we've said before, there's just so much to learn from here. Like, you're 5 years in, I'm about 5 years in as well.
And that's why we want to do it, isn't it? Because we feel like we've been on such similar but different journeys. And if we can help at least one person out there, because I wish that I had something like this back then when I was in that not so good place,
I love the rise of the podcast. Like, it's, again, I went through a rough time, like a breakup 2 years ago, and that's when I dove deep into podcasts, because when you're in that space where you're like, I just can't be alone with my thoughts right now, so I just need something on in the background or whatever. And whether it makes me laugh, whether it makes me think of something, if it introduces you to something that you've never even heard of before, whatever it is, I just love podcasts and how big they are in our lives at the moment. Like, huge, now every single day I'm listening to, and it's my favorite part of the day is listening to podcasts. And it's just so funny. I'm like a broken record. Every day my partner will come home from work, and I'm just like, and then they said this, and then they said that, and that's what I'm going. So I've booked on to do that. Like, I'll hear something new and I'm booking on straight away. And I think, between both of us, there's lots of things we've both done, but there's also lots of things that you've done that I've never even heard of before, which is interesting, because we've both been interested in this for such a long time, and there's still things that we can both introduce to the other one, and with guests that I think we're both really excited about that they can introduce us to. And I love to see where those conversations go, and like thoughts. If you listen to a podcast and you get one thing out of it, that's a great time. That's a great use of your time. So I'm excited to go deeper.
No, me too. I am so excited because, like you said, I think it's about bringing other people on, like them sharing their learnings, their expertise, and like you said, even if it helps that one person, like you take that one thing away from it, then our job is done.
Yeah, exactly. It's worth our time. Absolutely. So, okay, that's all about us. That's why we're starting the podcast. Next episode, we're diving in. We're getting into the good stuff, sharing our experiences, whatever those may be. Yeah. I'm intrigued to see what comes up.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we've done a little bit of prepping for, you know, what episodes we want to talk about, but we're really just going to go with it. Because when, like we've said before, when you and I get together, things just, I call them universal downloads. People think I'm crazy, but you know, this is what happens when you meet like people that are into the same things. And we was like, do you know what? Let's just see what comes up. Let's go with the flow. Because what I do believe is when I'm talking to people about certain topics that we channel certain things.
Absolutely.
And I find it sometimes on stories on Instagram. I'm like, I need to show up today because I feel like somebody needs to hear this message.
Exactly.
Yeah. Again, call me crazy, but that is
no,
like,
this is the space for it. Like, and that's it. We're so used to having to like correct ourselves for the people that we're around, but I'm always for it. Yeah, the more woo woo, the better. Like, honestly,
I love a bit of woo woo. I do like the science. I do like the science, but I love a bit of woo woo.
Yeah, I love a bit of both. If you can back up with science, even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just go there. And you know, not every episode is going to be for every person. That's even the same with you and me. There will be topics that I'm like, okay, I see why people are interested in it, but not for me.
Yeah.
And that's totally okay. It's just about exploring, like not being scared to find out a little bit more. If you don't like it, move on to the next episode and see if the next thing's for you.
The one thing that I will say is, especially for those that are listening, is just be open-minded. Just allow your mind to be open and just see what happens.
Exactly. That's so important because you will get more out of it as well. It's like some different sessions that I go to, and they always start at the beginning saying, if you go in with the intention of I'll see how it goes, that's all you're going to get out of it. Whereas if you go in with the intention and just play the part and say, I'm going to go in and I'm going to get as much out of this as I can, and I'm going to learn from it, and I'm going to run with whatever comes up, you will be baffled with what happens, and then there's no denying it.
True. So true.
Okay, let's do this.
Let's go.